Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. We are back here today, Sunday morning, after Purdue's bizarre 28-26 win over Florida Atlantic. I've been to a lot of games that just felt dumb at Ross-Ade Stadium over the years. This one might have taken the cake. All around, just a game where there is a lot to talk about for Purdue as they leave September with a 2-2 record and prepare to get into the heart of Big Ten play. Going to break down all things FAU here on the show today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Certainly a weird one. The storyline of Aidan O'Connell's absence was one that I don't think anyone wanted to be a big story, but of course word got out rather quickly later in the week that there was reason to doubt whether Aidan O'Connell would be able to suit up on Saturday. It turned out that he sustained a rib injury in the game against Syracuse and was unable to go. So Purdue had to turn to Austin Burton for the first time, a guy who's in his third year with the Purdue program, but really hadn't seen much action. We saw him a little bit last year, and by a little bit, I mean on maybe a dozen snaps or so when Purdue was doing their little multi-quarterback thing for a few games, and that was really about it. We hadn't seen him really play significant snaps ever, so this was the first we saw of him. We saw what the offense looked like. It was a situation where you could tell that Purdue had a really nice script put together. They came out, and the first drive of the game was clean. It was crisp. I thought Purdue did a really nice job on that. Now, when it was 7-0, my first thought was, we will see what happens when they get off script, because it's a completely different offense with Austin Burton in there compared to what you run with Aidan O'Connell. Austin Burton certainly presents mobility that Aidan O'Connell doesn't, but it was clear as day that, A, Austin Burton's not someone who's very skilled throwing the ball downfield, and B, that the staff doesn't trust Austin Burton to throw the ball down the field. Overall, 21 for 29, a $166, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. About as good as you could have expected from Austin Burton, I think. It's a tough situation to come in. At what point, Purdue knew that O'Connell wasn't going to be able to give it a go? I don't know. But you assume at least, most of the week was probably spent with Burton as the presumptive starter. But still, that's a tough spot to be in. It's a completely different offense, and I think all in all, Burton did a fine job. He added 8 carries for 15 yards. I do think there was a sack in there or two that certainly knocked off that rushing, but, all in all, I think Burton was about as good as you could ask for. The issue, I think, is that that's a massive, massive drop-off from Aidan O'Connell to the backup quarterback. And in an offense that so heavily features downfield passing, where it is, it's almost a pass-first and pass-second type of offense. It's not an air raid, but it is so heavily focused on passing that to have that big of a drop-off, that's a little bit concerning. We saw Michael Amo for one series. That was really weird, I thought. I don't know if that was just a change of pace type of deal to try to throw him in there, but, the offense didn't, it was a 3-and-out. He threw it downfield. We've always kind of talked on this show. Every time we've seen him, in the spring game and all that, he throws it downfield. But, nothing really got going there, and we saw Austin Burton from there on out. But just to have that big of a drop-off from your starter to your backup, yes, that says a lot about Aidan O'Connell, but that also says a lot about what's behind him on the depth chart. I wondered from the start of the season, if this situation were to happen, and of course for Purdue, you didn't want this to happen. This was your biggest fear, really, was that Aidan O'Connell wouldn't be able to play in a game or for an extended period of time, who they would go with. But it's clear that Austin Burton is that number 2 guy on the depth chart, and I think it was justified based off his performance in this game. The passing attack, though, really just wasn't very good. I'll do the quick math here, yards per attempt, but 5.7 yards per attempt, not great, not great at all. That's not, that's just not what this offense is designed to do. Now, Purdue did do a nice job running the ball in this game. They were able to move the ball against an overmatched opponent physically. Florida Atlantic didn't have much up front. That's not how that team is designed. They just aren't that big. Dylan Downing, heck of a game. He had a few big runs, finished with 113 yards on 15 carries. Devin Maccabee did nice as well. 37 yards on 6 carries. Also added 4 catches for 59 yards. So flirting with 100 total yards there for Maccabee as well. Really nice performance by those guys. Saw a little bit of Kobe Lewis, but again, we know where the pecking order of these running backs stands. If King Daru isn't there, Downing and Maccabee are your next guys. Don't know when Doru's going to be back. He missed the game again. We'll see if he comes back for Minnesota. I do, and I'm just kind of going offense to defense here. Just going position group, scrolling down the stat sheet. But it's clear as day now. Purdue does not have a number 2 receiver. And I know that this is hard to compare when Purdue was not pushing the ball down the field at all. But you only had 3 receivers catch a pass in this game. Charlie Jones had 59 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 receptions, I guess. Am I seeing this right? Interesting. Okay. 9 receptions for 59 yards. Tyrone Tracy, 3 for 9 yards, 2 for 22 for TJ Sheffield. We talked about Maccabee. And then Payne Durham, 4 catches for 17 yards. That Charlie Jones coming in is a godsend because without him, this would be tough. Brock Thompson injured. Don't know when he's going to come back. Don't know what he'll look like when he's back. But guys like Mershawn Rice, Deion Burks made a nice play in special teams. Didn't see much from him in the pass game, though. Still no signs of Abdur-Rahman Yassin. This is a wide receiver group that we haven't seen a whole lot from this year outside of Charlie Jones. And now that we're a third into the season, I think in general, it's probably time to start moving on from what preseason expectations were and just start looking at what you've seen so far. And outside of Charlie Jones, we know what Payne Durham's capable of, but outside of those 2, not an impressive Purdue receiving corps to this point. Times can change, no doubt, but for now, that's what we've seen. On the defensive side of the ball is where I think this game was a little bit more disappointing for Purdue. Purdue got outgained in this game, 419 to 354. That's discouraging as can be. 419 yards to Florida Atlantic is rather discouraging. Now, Purdue eked out the time of possession win, 30, by a minute and 3 seconds. Purdue's defense really struggled in this game, I thought. we knew, we brought this up in our 3 keys ahead of this game. Purdue needed to make N'Kosi Perry throw. He made a few nice throws on the game, but for the most part, FAU ran it incredibly effectively, especially Perry. They did a nice job with him running the ball. He had 93 yards. Next closest had 39. But regardless, Purdue didn't do a great job in terms of staying home on zone read plays. I thought as a whole, Purdue's defensive backs really struggled, both against the pass and in the run game. I thought they were out of position a good amount. Tackling is a massive issue with this team. This is not a good tackling team. And when you're getting ready to go into Big Ten West play, that becomes more and more of a concern. Because if you're struggling tackling against Florida Atlantic, you're in for some real trouble when you head to play Minnesota, a very physical, very run-heavy team. You're going to play Wisconsin. You're going to play Iowa. You're going to play Illinois. If you can't tackle, beating those teams becomes a very, very steep proposition. I thought Jacob Wahlberg did a nice job. We saw a lot more of him than we had gotten used to in the defense. He finished with 8 tackles to lead Purdue. I like what I've seen from O.C. Brothers for the most part, but that late hit was just a killer. And it's those penalties. Purdue didn't just get annihilated with penalties today the way they did against Syracuse. But Purdue still, it's that penalty that hurts. A couple of defensive holdings hurt. That's been a problem all season, and you saw a little bit more of it. Only 5 penalties for 55 yards. That's not the end of the world, but it's just the way they come. And that late hit from O.C. Brothers, I know that, it's a dropped pass, and so be it, but he was a few steps away. I mean, you've got to have your head up and see that and slow down and not just hit him. That directly led. That's a situation where I think it would have been 4th and 10, a must punt situation that leads to a first down where FAU scores. They score on that drive. Just a back-breaking penalty that didn't end up costing Purdue the game, but if Purdue lost, that would have been a play you looked at and said, that's a game changer. That's just frustrating. Purdue doesn't have much of a pass rush. No sacks in this game for Purdue, and they really weren't all that close a lot. That's becoming a bit of a concern as you move into Big Ten play. This isn't a defense that makes a lot of big plays. Yes, Chris Jefferson had the interception and a nice return off of a bad pass. And yes, you had the fumble on the quarterback sneak. Just a dumb game all around, like I said in the open. Credit to Jacob Wahlberg for knocking it out. Sanusi Kane, my goodness, giving everyone a heart attack trying to return that instead of just going down. But Purdue was able to come away and get this win. The defense wasn't great. The offense wasn't great. Purdue all around wasn't great. Now, Jack Ansel had a nice game. He had one heck of a punt early on in the game. What did that punt end up going for? 67-yard punt. That was really nice. I think, all things considered, he's been really good for you. We saw Charlie Jones have a nice punt return, and we saw Deion Burks have a nice kick return. I think we might be to the point now where Jones is only going to be a punt return guy. I wonder, with him taking hits, how much you want him to be on the kick return team. I don't know. That's a spot where you can really take some big hits, and he's awfully important to the offense. But that was all good. Mitchell Finneran, it's like we've talked about. I We talked about it last week. We had a question about it. He's a fine kicker, but he doesn't have a big leg. And when you're short from 47, that means you really don't have a big leg. That's really concerning. He went through a slump last year where he missed like 5 of his 6 kicks or something, maybe 4 of 5. You really hope that's not what this snowballs into, but I think we're reaching the point where, anything beyond 40 is a major question mark. Certainly not ideal. He has been reliable inside of 40 his whole career at Purdue, but outside of 40, boy, concerning. Leaving that short was very worrisome. All things considered, look, September is over now, and we'll go a little bit deeper into this later this week when we preview Minnesota. Bad month for Purdue. Bad injury luck. Certainly losing Jalen Graham has missed the last 3 games. Whether he plays at Minnesota or not, that's going to be big to watch. Losing King Doru. Losing Brock Thompson. Losing T. Denson, we don't know much about yet, but you'd rather have him than not have him. And, of course, losing Aidan O'Connell. Injury luck has really been bad for Purdue so far, but even with that being said, this hasn't looked like a very good football team. This has looked like a football team that really relies on 2 players on offense, Aidan O'Connell and Charlie Jones. This has looked like a defense that is decent at times, but doesn't make big plays. Not a lot of sacks, not a lot of ball hawking turnovers, which that's a bit of a luck thing, but not a ton there. This hasn't looked like that good of a football team. And I know you didn't have Aidan O'Connell on Saturday against Florida Atlantic, but to only win this game by 2 and to be outgained and just the way your scores came. I mean, you score on your scripted drive and then you have a 2-minute drill offense that looks great and scores. You have a scoring drive that was set up by an interception, right? Am I trying to think if I'm right on that timing or not? But Purdue didn't look good in this. I think there are a lot of reasons to be concerned about this group moving into Big Ten play. Certainly, if you don't have Aidan O'Connell, it's difficult to see this team beat incredible opponents. I don't know what the outlook for Saturday in Minneapolis is going to be in terms of him playing. Jeff Brom was very non-committal when he was asked about it in the post game. Said it could be next week, it could be a couple weeks. He doesn't know. It's going to be a long day if Purdue doesn't have Aidan O'Connell. I can tell you that right now. This offense, this is an offensive program. This is an offense that is built to throw the ball down the field. If they can't do that, then it gets tough to see this going well. But just in general, a weird game, a really weird game. I think there's plenty of reason to be concerned here. If you want to play the optimistic route, you got to win without your best player. And you are missing a number of key guys. You get a win and you move on. But I think, you're really looking at a situation now where you're 2-2. In terms of the West, it doesn't look great. I think Minnesota looks like the best team in the West right now. Wisconsin, that's a monkey on your back that you've never been able to get off. Maryland looks decent. You got to play them. Nebraska looks bad. Northwestern looks god-awful. But as a whole, look, you're probably looking at a situation where whatever your preseason expectations were and I know a lot of the listeners had pretty high expectations, those probably aren't going to get hit. Really not a good start to the season for Purdue. We will see what Aidan O'Connell's situation looks like ahead of Minnesota. I don't think Purdue can win that game without him. With him, I wouldn't rule it out, but it's going to be a difficult one. Purdue has to improve pretty quickly on just both big and little things. You know, the dumb penalties, the lousy tackling, getting more than one receiver open. There's a lot here that I think were concerns coming into the season, or maybe weren't concerns, but have become concerns. We'll see what goes on. This is a critical month of October. If Purdue wants to have any chance to do something in the Big Ten West, or, you know, get to that 7-8 win mark, you're going to need a 2-2 at worst month. We'll see what happens. We will be back on Wednesday, I believe, to preview the Minnesota game. Hopefully by that point we have a much more defined idea of what Purdue's quarterback situation is going to be. Until then, we will see what Jeff Brom says. You know, his press conference on Monday, his radio show on Wednesday night. He talks to the media on Thursday as well. But until then, it's going to be interesting. Be sure to send over some questions to me at Boilers Beyond on Twitter. We will, as always, do a mailbag in the second half of the Minnesota preview episode, and we'll go from there. But until then, take care. Enjoy your week. Be safe, and we will talk to you later this week to preview Purdue and Minnesota.